In addition to being an orphan, I had another noble and wealthy identity. But this identity of mine was possessed by someone else. Without my knowledge, can I unravel this lie and regain this identity? I was born in an orphanage, and I heard from others that they all carry tokens of their parents at birth. While I had nothing, I had a strange tendency to be afraid of mirrors, and Amy had a bad personality and used it to taunt and bully me. Luckily, there were people in the orphanage who were genuinely kind to me, one of whom was Mikkel, and the other was Miss Warner, the principal's assistant. It was my 16th birthday when Mikkel rescued me from Amy and gave me a token that my parents had left me. Miss Warner hid it from me to prevent others from taking it away. As I grew up, she entrusted Mikkel to give it to me. To be honest, I would have preferred to receive a photo of my parents together than this precious antique-looking jewelry. I didn't really know what this token was for. I just wanted to know who my parents were, to help me find my parents. Mikkel took me to a jewelry store to try to determine my parents' identity through the jeweler. However, the jeweler only told me that it was a precious antique, but he didn't know who it belonged to. My last hope was dashed. When we returned to the orphanage, we were discovered by the dean. The dean overheard that Mikkel and I had gone out because of a necklace, and that Miss Warner knew about it, so he decided to punish us. He put me in the basement and took Mikkel away, and even Miss Warner was punished. When the dean went on a rampage, I heard him say that he was going to sell the orphanage. In going through the letters sent to the dean, I discovered the secret, that Amy turned out to be the dean's daughter, which was the reason why the dean was so indulgent with Amy. The next day, while I was working, I suddenly saw a man walk into Miss Warner's office. That man was one of Patrick's staff. It was said that Mr. Patrick had been looking for his niece. The dean was excited to see the photo and assured him that Patrick's niece would be found soon. I was going to expose the dean in front of Patrick and save the orphanage. Unexpectedly, the incident took a dramatic turn. Amy came out of nowhere and said she was Patrick's niece. I was about to tell the truth when the dean called me a bad kid and snuck out in the middle of the night with my boyfriend. So, my communication with Patrick was cut off completely. A few days later, Mikkel and I decided to go out in the garden and overheard Miss Warner and Mr. Patrick kissing. They became lovers, so Warner formally introduced us to Patrick. Patrick invited us for a walk, but the dean kept an eye on us. He found out that Patrick and I knew each other, so he reprimanded me and tried to punish me. When Patrick tried to speak up for me, the dean changed the subject. I had seen this tactic many times, but the last thing I wanted to do at that time was to stop the dean from selling the orphanage. However, my pleas were to no avail, and the dean even decided to kick me out of the orphanage. Mikkel was forced to become Amy's bodyguard because he pleaded with her. While I was worried about this, Patrick proposed to Warner. The news made me feel a little better. They had a party to celebrate. While they were celebrating, I was asked to clean the mirror. I was afraid of mirrors, but luckily Mikkel came to me and kissed me. However, he was Amy's bodyguard, and in order to separate Mikkel and me, Amy kept asking him to do things. On the day of the party, while looking for Mikkel's path, I found that Mr. Patrick's photo had the exact same jewelry that my parents had left me. It was then that I saw the dean make a rude move toward Miss Warner. Fortunately, Warner ducked out of the way. At that point, I realized I had to get my necklace as soon as possible. But to my dismay, my necklace was missing. I had to go to Mr. Patrick with the photo to explain the situation. But things got complicated, because my necklace was actually worn around Amy's neck. At that time, Miss Warner, the only one who knew the truth, was seriously injured and unconscious. Mr. Patrick did not believe me at all, and even thought I had done it all. At that point, all the evidence proved that I was a liar. I was not allowed to see Mikkel, and no one listened to my explanations. I left the orphanage and lived alone until Miss Warner woke up a few months later and told everyone the truth. In fact, I was Mr. Patrick's niece. Finally, I decided to stay at the orphanage and run it with Miss Warner.